Why did Agamemnon attack Troy? The real reason explained. Warning: this video contains spoilers from Greek mythology, the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the events that led to the Trojan War. Some ancient sources tell the story differently, but this video follows the most widely accepted version of the myth. Now, let's begin. The Trojan War is one of the most famous conflicts in history. It lasted 10 years. It claimed thousands of lives. It destroyed one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. It turned warriors like Achilles, Odysseus, Ajax, and Hector into legends. But have you ever wondered why the war started in the first place? Why would Agamemnon, the most powerful king in Greece, gather more than 1,000 ships and launch a massive invasion against Troy? Was it simply because Paris took Helen? Or was there a much bigger reason behind the war? The truth is far more complicated than most people realize. Agamemnon wasn't just fighting to rescue his brother's wife. He was fighting to defend an ancient oath, to protect his family's honor, to unite the Greek kingdoms under one cause, and perhaps to expand his own power. The Trojan War wasn't started by one decision. It was the result of promises, pride, politics, and the will of the gods. So why did Agamemnon attack Troy? Let's explain. It all began with Helen. Years before the Trojan War, Greece was already home to dozens of powerful kingdoms. Each king ruled independently. Among them was Menelaus, king of Sparta. His wife, Helen, was famous throughout the ancient world. She was considered the most beautiful woman who had ever lived. Kings and princes from across Greece had once competed to marry her, but Helen eventually chose Menelaus. For years, the marriage brought peace. That peace ended when Prince Paris of Troy visited Sparta. According to Greek mythology, Paris left Greece with Helen and returned to Troy. Whether Helen went willingly or was taken against her will depends on the version of the myth. But for Menelaus, the result was the same. His wife was gone, his honor had been shattered, and Troy was responsible. Agamemnon was more than a brother. Many people think Agamemnon attacked Troy simply because his brother asked for help. But Agamemnon wasn't just Menelaus's older brother. He was the High King of Mycenaean Greece. As ruler of Mycenae, he commanded enormous wealth and military power. When Helen disappeared, Agamemnon saw the event as far more than a family dispute. If another kingdom could insult the house of Atreus without consequences, every Greek king would appear weak. His authority would suffer. The unity of Greece would collapse. For Agamemnon, the conflict became a matter of leadership. If he failed to act, he risked losing the respect of every ruler who looked to him for guidance. The oath that changed history. The real reason the war became so enormous began years earlier. Before Helen married Menelaus, dozens of princes competed for her hand. Everyone wanted to marry the most beautiful woman in the world. The situation threatened to create a civil war among the Greek kingdoms. Then Odysseus proposed a brilliant solution. Every prince seeking Helen's hand would swear a sacred oath. Whoever Helen chose would become her husband. Everyone else would respect that decision. More importantly, they all promised to defend Helen's marriage if anyone ever tried to break it. The kings agreed. The oath was sworn before the gods. Years later, when Paris took Helen to Troy, that promise became impossible to ignore. Agamemnon didn't simply have the right to respond. He had a sacred obligation. A matter of honor. Honor meant everything in ancient Greek society. A king who allowed an insult to go unanswered risked losing his reputation forever. For Agamemnon, Helen's disappearance wasn't merely a private family issue. It was a public humiliation. A foreign prince had entered Greece, taken the wife of a Greek king, returned safely to Troy. If Agamemnon ignored such an insult, what message would that send? Other kingdoms might believe Greece could be challenged without consequences. The attack on Troy became about restoring honor as much as recovering Helen. To the Greeks, failing to act simply wasn't an option. Politics played a major role. Although honor was important, politics also influenced Agamemnon's decision. By leading the expedition against Troy, Agamemnon united dozens of rival kings under his command. Achilles, Odysseus, Ajax, Diomedes, Nestor, each ruled his own people. Yet during the Trojan War, they fought under Agamemnon's leadership. The campaign strengthened his position as the most powerful ruler in Greece. Victory would bring glory, wealth, prestige, and greater influence over the Greek world. For Agamemnon, defeating Troy wasn't only about Helen, it was also about proving himself as Greece's supreme leader. The gods were already involved. Greek mythology rarely tells stories without the gods. Long before the war began, the famous judgment of Paris changed everything. The goddess Eris threw a golden apple into a wedding feast. Written upon it were the words, "For the fairest, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite each claimed the prize." Unable to settle the argument, the gods chose Paris to decide. Each goddess offered him a reward. Hera promised power. Athena promised wisdom and victory in battle. Aphrodite promised the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris chose Aphrodite. That choice earned him Helen. But it also earned the hatred of Hera and Athena. From that moment forward, several gods actively supported the Greek invasion of Troy. The war became more than a conflict between kingdoms. It became part of a struggle among the gods themselves. The sacrifice that allowed the war to begin. Even after the Greek kings gathered their armies, another obstacle appeared. Their ships waited at Aulis, but no wind came. The fleet couldn't sail. The goddess Artemis had become angry with Agamemnon. The prophet Calchas revealed the terrible solution. To gain favorable winds, Agamemnon had to sacrifice his daughter, Iphigenia. Some versions say he obeyed. Others say Artemis rescued the young princess at the last moment and replaced her with a deer. Either way, the winds finally returned. The Greek fleet set sail. The war had officially begun. Before a single battle was fought against Troy, Agamemnon had already paid a devastating personal price. The war lasted 10 years. Agamemnon expected a swift victory. Instead, Troy's massive walls held firm. Year after year, neither side could achieve complete victory. The Greeks won many battles. The Trojans defended their city with incredible determination. Heroes rose on both sides. Achilles became the greatest warrior in Greece. Hector became Troy's greatest defender. Odysseus repeatedly used intelligence where strength failed. The conflict eventually lasted an entire decade. Thousands of soldiers died. Entire generations disappeared. One stolen queen had become one of mythology's greatest wars. Did Agamemnon truly fight for Helen? This question has fascinated historians and mythology experts for centuries. Officially, yes. The expedition's goal was to bring Helen home. But many ancient writers suggest there were other motivations. Honor, power, political influence, personal glory, economic wealth, control of important trade routes. All may have played a role in Agamemnon's decision. Like many great wars throughout history, the Trojan War probably cannot be explained by a single cause. Helen's disappearance may have started the conflict, but it wasn't the only reason it continued for 10 years. Why this story still matters. Agamemnon's attack on Troy remains relevant because it shows how easily personal conflicts can grow into international wars. One broken promise, one insult, one political decision. Soon, entire nations become involved. Greek mythology reminds us that history is rarely shaped by one event alone. Instead, wars begin when pride, ambition, loyalty, politics, and revenge collide. That lesson remains just as powerful today as it was nearly 3,000 years ago. So, why did Agamemnon attack Troy? Because Paris took Helen. Because Menelaus demanded justice. Because every Greek king had sworn a sacred oath to defend Helen's marriage. Because Agamemnon believed Greece's honor had been challenged. And because leading the greatest military expedition in Greek history strengthened his own power and authority. The Trojan War wasn't caused by a single act. It was the result of broken promises, wounded pride, political ambition, and the influence of the gods. Without Agamemnon's decision to unite the Greek kingdoms, the Trojan War might never have happened. And without the Trojan War, there would have been no Iliad, no Odyssey, and no legendary journey of Odysseus back to Ithaca. What do you think? Was Agamemnon justified in launching a war to recover Helen? Or do you think ambition and power played a bigger role than honor? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Greek mythology explainers. The Iliad, the Odyssey, House of the Dragon, movie breakdowns, hidden details, and entertainment news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.